Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a step-by-step guide again, just because they're quite a popular feature on the channel. I'm going to be talking about how to improve your impact area. The idea on these sort of drills and exercises and these sort of step-by-step guides is to try to refrain too much from talking and to try and just work on some sort of exercise that you can follow. Now, the key thing that comes when it comes to practicing and trying to make some sort of swing changes, and what you'll hopefully get from this sort of video in its simplicity, is that basically we're just pushing you outside your comfort zone. But sometimes we can walk into a practice session with the best level of intent of making a change, but then we end up walking away thinking, oh, did I really push myself, or did anything actually feel that much different? So therefore, the only way that you can actually enforce the idea of making some sort of change is to set yourself some sort of task. And what we're suggesting is, that if you've stumbled across this video, it's because that you're struggling with your impact area, which means that you might be too flippy, you might be a little bit jumpy at it, whatever it might be. And it's amazing how much you can change the aesthetics and the efficiency of your golf swing by getting the elbow driving more in front of the right hip, or the trail hip coming into the downswing and creating a clearance, so you can either look pretty conventional if you hit the ball in this sort of manner, or you can look, the more that you do this, the more that you look like golfers that we see on the TV that potentially possess more rotational athletic movement. So you kind of stand there down the driving range and you're aiming parallel and you're looking at your target, and it's very hard for you to change. And the main reason why is that, as much as we like to get away from the idea that, oh, I'm not bothered if I hit the ball bad, or if I miss-hit a few, it's like, you may think that, but you're probably kidding yourself that it's just not that easy. So it might be something that I suggest to a lot of people that come for lessons that you first and foremost just really want to be doing at home. And the way you would do this, you'd get yourself some sort of driving net, or even what you can do up against the wall at the house is just get yourself some foam balls, and at least then you'll be surprised it'll become more susceptible to sort of change. Now, as this video goes on, different golfers of different levels will have to cut off and work on it. So that the point that I'd suggest first and foremost is that, and we've done videos on this recently, that if you want to work on driving your elbow, that's not too difficult. Most people can comprehend the idea of driving the elbow. The difficulty is also timing the club face rotation, so that might be a little bit too much too quick. So the first objective is, what I would suggest is maybe just go for my 50-degree lofted wedge here, and I'm going to aim, if I aim kind of straight with the mat for the benefit of the video, but you can see the way my feet are going to be like 40 degrees open. And the idea is that obviously if I was to release in along my feet line, it would go left, so it kind of forces me to drive the elbow, as you can see in the finished position, to kind of almost feel like I'm pushing the ball towards the target. So it almost kind of enforces your brain to go, hang on a second, you're aiming all that way over to the left, it's going to make me drive the elbow first. Now, there might be golfers that watch that video that go, oh, that looks good and all the rest of it, but you might need to start even shorter. You might find that you just need to start with a little chip shot first and foremost. Then what you might do is you might do the same sort of exercise, but I'm going to progress up to like an 8 or a 7, an 8 iron here. Open up my feet, not too wide in terms of the distance. It's like a little chip shot, so all I'm going to do is I'm probably going to aim a little further left actually. So I'm going to aim further left. I'm not thinking about the club face, and all I'm doing is I just feel like I'm leaving the club face open, but I'm just bringing my attention very much to driving the elbow first and foremost, and that's just going to kind of help me push the ball, if you like, towards the target. Now, the thing that you've got to be careful of when it comes to practice is that if you've become quite accomplished already at doing those sort of exercises, and what I mean by already is when you next get the opportunity to practice and they start to feel comfortable, then you've got to push yourself a little bit more. So the next thing I'd suggest is that we're still going to keep the stance open, but what happens if you move the ball further forward? If you move the ball further forward, it means that you're going to have to keep your hands forward, because otherwise what will happen is that, basically you'll miss the golf ball, right? So those last two then start to feel a little bit more comfy, and they're going relatively straight, which is a good kind of sign, because that we're focusing on the elbow. So I'm going to move the ball further forward and open my stance a little bit more, and keep driving that elbow coming in towards the hit. Now, what will happen is that, and if you video your sort of practice session, again, whether you're down the range or at home, one of the problems that we tend to see with golfers who are potentially working on things like the transition, which means the start of the downswing, is that your transition actually doesn't change. It's just what happens is you normally affect the bottom part of your swing. So a lot of golfers that I tend to see that are like, oh, I'm going to work on shallowing the club. Actually what happens is you still start the downswing like this, and then you're hitting it just basically under plane. So what this sort of exercise does is it forces you to still try and learn that although your alignment's indifferent, and it is a difficult exercise, as you can see, skewed that one way off to the left. The point is that you're still kind of trying to subconsciously marry up the same sort of hit. So that would be, you know, a way of going. Now, again, like I said, you know, practice what I preach. Be careful then in terms of doing too much inside that comfort zone. So now I've got a 4-iron, okay, so I'm going to try and hit a few again, and then, okay, a little bit squirting off towards the right hand side, but still a decent sort of contact, and just push it again further forward, open the stance a little more, drive the elbow, and that one's a better hit. And then when you become more and more accomplished with these sort of exercises and drills, then what you can start to do is start to try and hit it harder and further. And then what you'll find is that even though your simple concentration is just trying to coordinate a hit with such a strange location of ball position, what you'll actually start to notice is that you're having to do a lot of good things to make any sort of contact with the back of the ball at all. And as I'm trying to test now, there'll eventually be a threshold where it might be a step too far to actually make a contact with the golf ball. But the thing that will surprise you as I'm doing this now, is how far forward actually you can move the ball and still make a collision with it. And the point is that if you stood at the driving range just hitting golf balls conventionally like you normally do, there is no way that you are going to push yourself to that sort of level of extreme of swing change. But all of a sudden, by moving things like the ball position and the stance, it kind of really forces you to drive the elbow, and it gives you a much stronger swing thought. So it's 100% something that I would start to do. I'd hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Make sure that you give it a thumbs up if you have done, and remember it's absolutely free to press that subscribe button as well if you're going to do so. You know, press the little bell icon, because that means you'll receive notifications on a pretty much a daily sort of basis. And the idea is that I'm very passionate about helping golfers improve, and the way that that's going to lie is very much in how you practice. So there's a lot of drills, a lot of different exercises coming up onto the channel, so if you press that bell icon you won't miss it. Catch up with you again soon.